Hi there, this is Gary Ryan Blair with a great message titled, Public Enemy Number 1. What did John Dillinger, James Whitey Bulger, and Osama bin Laden all have in common? Well, one time or another, each one made their way to the top of the FBI's most wanted list, and they were considered to be public enemy number 1. The term public enemy number 1 has been used for centuries to describe pirates, outlaws, terrorists, bootleggers, and all-around bad guys. It originated in Roman times as the Latin hostis, publicus, which means enemy of the people. It is typically translated into English as public enemy. And from a performance standpoint, it is a much more pervasive and far more devastating public enemy that we should all concern ourselves with. See, the real public enemy number 1, I'm talking about the primary weapon of mass destruction that has extinguished more dreams, that's killed more ideas, careers, marriages, and lives than any gangster ever could, is fear. Fear is a self-inflicted act of sabotage. It's one that far too many people have chosen to accept, to embrace, and to perpetuate with devastating consequences. Fear is a silent, slow, gradual killer of performance that has caused millions of people in the past and which will cause millions of people in the future to go to their graves with their hopes, their dreams, and their passions still inside them. And for those of you who think that overcoming fear and replacing it with courage is hard, well, I suggest you brace yourself for a lifetime of quiet and painful suffering. See, most of us live 2 lives. I'm talking about the life we live and the unlived, the magical life hidden deep within us. What do you say we put an end to that today? So what is it that compels people to be fearful? To think and act like part of the herd, and to live an entire lifetime with very little to show for it? See, for the majority of us, it's the desire for safety, for refuge, for security. In short, it's the inclination to play it safe and to remain in the comfort zone. But the life you want, I'm talking the truly magical life that you want to experience, it will only happen when you face your fears, when you actively work to get outside your comfort zone. It's always been this way, and it will always be this way. Fear is unworthy of your companionship. It's an unwanted visitor. It's one who's occupied far too much mental space in your mind and who's overstayed his welcome. Your ultimate goal is to face it, to conquer it, and to use it as a trigger for unleashing your greatness. And the human being who does not wish to belong to the masses, who dares to show the world what she's capable of creating, must cease being controlled and manipulated by fear. She must resist the gravitational pull of the comfort zone and instead follow her conscience, which shouts out at her, "Let your light shine bright." See, fear is never a reason for quitting nor for second-guessing yourself. It's only a cowardly excuse for those unwilling to face their doubts, their insecurities, and their mental boogeyman. Therefore, your first duty in rising to meet a challenge is to conquer fear and the mental resistance that it brings along with it. You must choose to get rid of it, to conquer it, or any hope, any dream, or goal that you're considering will wind up being DOA, that is, dead on arrival. And to fully comprehend the meaning of everything you want to be, have, and do is only going to be found on the other side of fear. I'd like you to think of someone that you admire and ask yourself, what challenges did they rise up to meet, and what fears did they need to overcome in order to become the person that they did become? What you'll find in answering that question is that behind every great man or woman is a series of challenges that were overcome, fears that were overruled, belief systems that were overhauled, and obstacles that were overrun. So you need to ask yourself, what is fear costing you? What are the consequences of keeping your dreams on hold? What is the impact on your life when you run from, rather than towards a challenge? Let's take a look at a few of the many consequences associated with quitting, with being underemployed, by remaining fearful, and by not rising to meet the demands of a challenge. The first is diminished self-worth and low personal value. Eventually, you'll come to think of yourself as the kind of person who's undeserving of success. Let's look at a few of the many consequences associated with quitting, with being underemployed, with remaining fearful, and not rising to meet the demands of a challenge. The first is diminished self-worth and low personal value. So eventually you come to think of yourself as the kind of person who's undeserving of success. And when you begin to lose faith in yourself, it leads to a downward spiral of psychological devastation that is extremely difficult to overcome. The second is the perpetuation of pain. See, avoiding a challenge and running from your fears only achieves self-sabotage and a perpetuation of pain, which leads to a cycle of failure and ongoing disappointment. Failure's high price is commonly imposed through the bankruptcy, unemployment, depression, poor grades, stress, and other forms of physical and psychological pain. The third is character assassination. See, by allowing fear to control your life, you will serve as a disturbing example of wasted talent, of someone who chose fear over courage, and your life will be viewed as a sad consequence of neglect, of excuse-making, self-pity, poor character, lack of direction, and courage deficit. The fourth reason is the development of a quitter reputation. Quitting is a habit, and it's also the path of least resistance. Facing your fears requires that you increase your level of resistance and your tolerance to pain, to inconvenience, and to sacrifice. And once you develop a quitter reputation, your options become limited, your reputation becomes questionable, and your future will be in serious jeopardy. And the biggest one, the final, number 5 in terms of consequences, is you become a traitor. See, by refusing to face your fears, you by default choose to betray yourself, to openly resist and to rebel against any opportunity and the chance for a better life. In effect, you become your own worst enemy, a real-life Benedict Arnold, your very own Judas Iscariot, as the greatest form of betrayal is betrayal of oneself. The truth is, fear of any type is a temperamental beast. It's a bastard that must be dealt with through heroic virtues of courage, of boldness, and tenacity. Be mindful, fear is built for a fight, and it works to mentally wear you down, and it will not be vanquished quickly nor easily. And that's why, if you're ever going to find your greatness, you must choose to face your fears, whatever they may be. You must develop the personal constitution to conquer that which is determined to conquer you. You must deliberately enforce your will over any obstacle, and you must advance towards your goals with an indomitable, unbeatable spirit. And that is exactly why I created the 100-Day Challenge. So check it out at 100daychallenge.com.